I'm thinking about how community is actually a practice and not something that just happens on vibes or something you discover or stumble upon. We talk a lot about needing a village, but we don't talk a lot about how to make and maintain that village. Welcome to my short dailiest chat where I name something I'm noticing and think about it out loud. Not to tell you what to think, but to offer something to think about. So, in thinking about community, there are times in our lives I think we especially rely upon it in times of trouble, turmoil, in times of joy and celebration, in times of change. We don't think about it in a neutral day to day very often. We expect it to be there, it's organic, or we have decided that it's not there and it's not going to be there. Both of those things could be happening in the background. I also see how these last 5 or so years have made community such a harder thing to grasp upon, and make it even more something you have to intentionally practice instead of something you're able to just find your way into. I used to get sad and a little bit stoic about the fact that I don't practice an organized religion that comes with a built-in community structure, systems that I could easily latch onto. But I realized upon deeper and deeper reflection that there was an opportunity for me to create my own community or to build up the nascent community that was around me and make it my own and embrace it into my life. And I think I was about to say that the last 5 years, they've been really hard on this idea of community. And COVID forced us into isolation. And sure, people found ways to be pods or things like that. But also, some people were just fighting for the idea of staying alive in some cases. And I think there's an additional layer of the nationalism that is very rampant in politics right now. And there's also the good old American individualism of pull yourself up for your bootstraps. That's how you get the American dream, all of that. And so while there are all of these things making creating community feel harder, we also have this need for it more than ever. I realized over time that if I want to have a village, I have to be a villager. I have to internalize what that means and looks like, and then practice it in my daily life. And so I'll tell a little bit of some examples of how that's showing up. My husband and I created Second Sunday a couple of years ago in 2024 as a way to take the mental load off of seeing people. So we have an open house 1 month a week, 1 day a month, the second Sunday usually. And it's a 4 or 5 hour thing. We usually have food and beverage of some kind. Sometimes if we're feeling cheeky, there's a theme. And it's open to our broad network, lots of old colleagues, current colleagues, our neighbors, and we just come be in community with one another. The little invite that I wrote was like, come for 5 minutes or all 5 hours, come for a chat, a laugh, or even a good cry. We're here. And next week, in less than a week, on Sunday, we'll have our first of 2026. And I'm so excited to be going into year 3 because year 1 was like proof of concept. And year 2 was, are we really doing this? Is the community happening? Wow, we are having community. How cool is this? And kind of from an awe space, a space of awe. And now that we're entering the 3rd year, I feel like I can settle into it and trust that this is the tool I built and it's working. And I just have to like roll with it. So maybe I don't mean that community is a practice and not just something that happens on vibes. I mean that community is a practice that you build until you can vibe. Nuance. We'll talk about that another day too. But at the end of the day, the truth is, Second Sunday is a tool that helps us prevent another year going by without seeing somebody who matters to us, and to help us not have to create dozens and dozens of individual plans with individual schedules. We're able to say, this window is when we're open and when we can, pour into each other, and you can meet our cool friends and create more community. And so now I'm so grateful for the way that community shows up in my life, both in Second Sunday and then in a lot of other ways. I have an online community through my business coach that I try to be an active part in and really love, and have created and cultivated some individual relationships out of that are very fantastic and rewarding part of my community ecosystem. And then, there's my community that I'm part of as part of the culinary bookstore that I work at. And that just continues to get richer and more interesting. And I think after spending a lot of time being scared about community, I think I've spent a lot of time being scared of community, scared of people, maybe not community itself, but scared of people. That they're going to get me sick, that they're not listening to the rules, that they don't think I'm listening to the rules well enough. So those are the COVID worries, that they're judging my parenting style, or that they don't have capacity to support me in the way that I would support them. And a whole bunch of trust and fear stuff to unpack and work through. But now I'm just so grateful for the community that we've intentionally built and participated in, and play different roles in, right? Some of the roles I play in community are in a leadership role, and I've also learned how to be that villager in the village of, right, I'm just a small part of a very large thing. I think community builds slowly, but that leads to an honest and trustful community. The truth is, finding clarity on what you need in community supersedes the fantasy of what your community could be any day. And so once you gain that clarity on what you need out of community, you can start building those building blocks to finding it, right? So what is your second Sunday? What is your opportunity to regularly connect with people? How can you build systems that support community without creating burnout or churn? That's what's to think about today. See you next time. Thanks.